You ready back there? All right. I'll go ahead and call the April 13th meeting of the Downtown Parking System Advisory Committee to order. And we will start with a call to order and a recognition of quorum, and we'll go along. We'll start over there. Maybe we do introductions. Ben, if you want to go first.
Yeah, Ben Randalls, Calagarina.
Mark Banky, City Battle Creek.
Bull Fulton. Jake Burnham, Hinman Company.
Paul Konecki, Griffin Grill and Pub.
Bill Schroer, WJ Schroer Company in 2 West Michigan.
I'm Carl Fetters, the DPW Director.
Linda Freipler, Calhoun County Visitors Bureau.
Leslie Hoffman, ABM Parking Services.
Sarah McGinnis.
Robert Quarter, Battle Creek Unlimited.
Thomas Burke, Battle Creek Police Department.
So the first item on our agenda is the minutes from our last meeting, December 16th of 2021. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Support.
I have a support or a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, we have a few non-action items here that we need to kind of go through. The first is the budget, and so if you would like to flip to, we do have a couple hard copies of the agenda if anyone would like one. But the important number, what that's really hard to see, is in that the third column from the end, and that is like the bottom line basically, our expenditures and revenue. As of the end of February, we're looking at a $200,000 deficit in the parking system. We've kind of knew that was coming, and the ARPA money that we've received is going to be utilized in some form to kind of make up that difference, to make that whole. That'll likely come as a budget amendment adjustment. I will say that ABM has kind of right-sized their staff a little bit during the process, and that's about all we could do in order to get a handle on expenses. So we have gotten to the point now where we're spending some money in the parking system to update lights that we've kind of ignored and update some things that through the pandemic we kind of put on hold just to kind of see where we were going. But it's kind of come time to put some money back in the system. So are there any questions on the budget before we move on?
I was just curious on the pay by plate, how that system is going.
Yeah, we have further on in the agenda, I have a small update on that too.
Okay, great.
Any other questions on the budget? Okay. The next item on the agenda is occupancy and passport report. So there we go. So for occupancy, there's the data's in here by graph, and you can kind of see that we're not experiencing much change in the ramps, although we expect to see some changes in the ramps as Kellogg's has started to bring back employees. That will likely push the Hamlin ramp and the Michigan ramp occupancy up maybe a little bit. The surface lots are in the same boat. We're seeing a little bit of, you can kind of see, if you want to go to the next slide. Yeah. So you can kind of see we went a little unstable there for a little while. I think that may be a blurb in the spring. But. So John Hart. All right. And then the next slide is just on-street parking, and I added a trend line to it just like I did the last time we met, kind of showing that it's going in the right direction. We'd like to see a little bit more growth, but I think that will come as spring rolls around and as COVID restrictions kind of ease up. Questions on any of the occupancies? These are occupancy numbers that are given to me by ABM. They do actual physical counts on a pretty monthly basis, just to kind of get a feel for what is happening in the system. So. The next few slides are just kind of the aggregate data on the passport users. So you can kind of see we are not really adding many users to the Passport system, but that's not real surprising since we're not seeing a whole lot of additional use in the parking system as in general. So that's still kind of steady in those 3 lots that we're doing this in. The revenue is the same boat, I think. Leslie, you can probably speak to this. I think it's right at break-even point.
Yeah, interestingly enough, in March, which is not on your report, I just finished that, we hit $856. Break even is 500, so that's the biggest month we've had. And we're headed that way this month already. You know, as early as it is, it's been pretty high. It's mostly State Street. There's no action in Jackson right now. We used to have a lot in Jackson because of the construction workers, but that's not happening now. So it's mostly State Street. And I just think the warmer weather and, you know, people are more comfortable getting out. I mean, we're just seeing bigger crowds, even with our events. We've been slammed at the events. People are much more comfortable coming out. So hopefully that will stay.
Are you seeing much action behind the brew pub down in the box?
Yeah, that's the Jackson lot, and not revenue-wise, no.
Okay. Yeah, it was full on Sunday, but they had a wedding that was going on, and I think that's complimentary at that point.
After hours, it could be. During
Okay,
the day, Monday through Friday, which is when we collect the revenue, we're not seeing it. But in the evenings, I could see that, or on the weekends, but we don't see that, you know.
Leslie, now that we're going with Passport, have you experienced any technical problems? Have there been any issues with the implementation, complaints or concerns?
With the Passport?
Passport?
None at all.
Great.
You need to speak into your mic.
Can you hear me if I do that?
Oh, there you go. Something just turned on.
None at all,
Good. Good to hear.
yeah.
Good to hear.
Carl, with the return of warm weather and big events, is there any plans for a push to get more people to use Passport as people start to come back downtown?
I think there should be. I don't think there is a plan right now, but we'll get into one of the items later on is the parking management contract, and we'll maybe touch on some of that. That will be helpful, yeah.
Leslie, is there anything that the parking attendant, I don't remember her name, but is there anything that she's handing out if she is giving out tickets that we can do to let people know there's a way to get around the tickets by using the Passport?
Right. No, not currently. In the beginning, she did.
Okay.
And certainly we can do that again at any time.
Might be a good,
Yeah,
for people that are using it, that's probably our best target market right there,
Yes.
that we're going after those people, because a lot of those people come down quite a few times during the week, so.
right.
Questions on the Passport data that's included? This is informational only, so we don't need any action. Okay. Let's go back to the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the parking management selection recommendation. So as you know, the last time we met, the committee selected Bill to kind of represent the committee's interest on the selection group. We have gone through that process. We collected 5 RFPs from various parking managers throughout the country, and the team was comprised of Bill and John, myself, Ted Deering, and was kind of chaperoned by our purchasing division. We went through a process of scoring all 5. We narrowed those RFPs down to 2, and we conducted interviews on those 2. And our recommendation, bringing it back to this board, is to continue with ABM. We're here to kind of answer questions about that. personally, I appreciated the process going through, and I appreciate Bill and John and Ted. We had good conversations throughout the entire process, and I will say that the process kind of opened our eyes a little bit to what is possible with our parking system, and we were able to use some of those experiences that we had with other vendors to clarify some things that we want to see moving forward with ABM. And so maybe I'll let either one of you speak if you'd like to.
Yeah, I think that was well said, Carl. I think it was a good process. I think we learned a lot. I certainly learned a lot about the capabilities that are out there, and I think it helped us sharpen our ability to have a good conversation with ABM about what they've done. And I did send out an email to all of the committee members asking for input prior to the conversation. I didn't get anything back, so I presume there was not a huge level of discontent with our current managers, which was important, because obviously with the history that we have with ABM, if there had been a lot of issues, then we wanted to know that. I wanted to know that as we went into the conversation. So I thought it was a very good, robust, open review, and I think we did look at some other good qualified vendors, and I think, as Carl says, it was a good, open, honest process, and I think we're comfortable with the recommendation.
I'd say a lot of review went through culling those 5 different applications that we received. And again, echoing what the other folks have said, we picked up a lot of small nuances from those other folks that we knew we could come back to ABM and ask them to improve upon a few things. But also knowing that a lot of the items that were reviewed were going to come at a cost if we wanted to pursue them to us. So they weren't just offering all this new technology and, we can advance your systems, not without a cost. So, and we can come back and, again, address some of those issues with this group and with ABM. So to make sure that we're advancing.
And some of the issues or some of the additions that we're going to be working with ABM on in the future, and they've agreed to these, is we want to have either a new or a revised web presence online. We would like to have some activity with social media online, so getting back to advertising Passport, Robert, that's an excellent thing to kind of push via social media, because those are the people that are using that system. We want to really take a look at the signage that we currently have and see if we can improve that. And then finally, we need to see a little bit better effort with gathering customer feedback in a number of different ways, customers being business owners, users, managers. We want to see that aspect of the agreement kind of be a little bit, and it will provide a lot more information to this group so that we can make decisions moving forward. So with that, we can open up for questions, or I can take a motion to kind of push forward that recommendation.
Carl, a couple questions. What's the term for the contract?
5-year term,
5-year.
and I believe that there is an extension if we wanted to. That's a good question.
It's 2 1 year.
2 1 years, okay.
Well, to facilitate discussion, I move that we recommend that ABM parking be adopted as our parking system and recommended to the City Commission as such.
Yeah, support.
Okay, Joel and Jake, is that?
Support, yeah.
Okay. All right, discussion?
No, I'd just like to say that I've liked how they've performed since I've been here for 16 years and been associated with the State Street parking lot. Moving forward with this, the Passport system, I think we looked at 2 different systems when we suggested that we go to a pay-to-play instead of just a punitive kind of parking system that we originally had, and I think that process has gone really well. Not a lot of people are using it yet, but again, COVID hit right as we were testing it, so there's nothing else we can do that, but Leslie's been a great addition and taken over what was left from the gentleman's name that
Tim Warren.
Tim Warren. And Tim Warren, they've both been very good people to work with, whether there's problems or suggestions or what have you, and that's been good to have for the downtown and the State Street parking lot for me, as well as I think across the street with Linda's and things like that, but I'll second approval.
I mean, I just want to say, we're coming out of a pandemic, so for the last couple of years, we haven't had any issues with parking. Prior to that, we had some real significant issues. And so what are those assurances that some of those things have been addressed?
You want to be specific about the issues that we have?
Well, things like events, when we had events going on and there weren't enough staff there to monitor the ramps and people were jammed up, coming in, coming out, rates being raised, unwillingness to work with various events going on that maybe, for instance, MHSA might require a lower rate and the CVB ends up paying the difference on those sorts of events. I mean, there's just, I don't know that, I'm disappointed that, first of all, I didn't even know this process was going on because I wasn't invited to the last meeting. And then also that none of the information on what the options were shared with this committee, unless they were, and again, I didn't get any of those emails. So I certainly don't feel equipped to approve anything today, because I think basically what you guys have said is, let's just keep going with what we have. And I know it sounds like there's a lot of process and a review, but as a committee member, I haven't seen anything, so.
Well, I guess the commitment is that when those issues arise, we'll work with ABM to address those. Some of those things are tied to fee bond insurance schedule, for example, for parking rates, that sort of thing. So, I feel like the relationship that we have with ABM, those issues will be able to be resolved. And I apologize for the confusion on your email, but I can assure you that the process was thorough enough, and we didn't go into it with the thought that we would just push forward a continued relationship with ABM.
So Carl, I do have a question, and it's a comment too. So regarding the gate at the lot adjacent to the hotel, is that going to be fixed or upgraded? And this kind of goes to the the issue around events. I know when we've had events there in the past, the gate wasn't working properly or it wasn't functioning quickly, and sometimes they would have somebody just handing out tickets or accepting payment. Was there any discussion about addressing that, like getting people in faster?
Well, it's hard to get into specifics on an RFP process. I think that each event's needs are a little bit different, and Leslie might be able to speak to some of this, but I know that, for example, the Travis Tritt concert that's coming up, ABM's going to bring over resources from Kalamazoo to help handle that event.
Yeah, I was going to ask, and I think part of this is looking at, the progress that's going on with the hotel and, some of the future events that we're anticipating in the next 5 years. So as long as we're, addressing some of those concerns, that would be my big question.
Okay. I feel like we are.
Thank you.
So we are getting a new gate put in, or a new system?
The system is going to be, well, we're working with McCamley Hotel to make sure whatever system that we put in there will be compatible with what system they need for their occupancy, which
Okay.
we're in negotiations for right now.
Yeah, and that'll be a system that lets guests that are staying at the hotel access the garage with their room key, and then, when they depart, they'll tap the key and it'll charge automatically, so.
Good.
I'd like to speak to the events. I'm not sure how they were handled before I got here, but how we've been handling the larger events now is all the gate arms are lifted, we pre-sell at the entrance, and when they leave, I think my microphone comes and goes.
It's still catching you.
Is it?
Yeah.
And so that way, we're catching them all when they come in. When they leave, they don't have to do anything but pull out. I think before they were making them put their ticket in the machine, waiting for the gate arm. We don't do that anymore with the larger events. It's just a smoother transaction to just leave the gate arms up and let them go.
Right.
On the smaller events, we let them pull a ticket. And on the real small ones, we let them pull a ticket, pay on the way out, but we have somebody standing there to make sure that the gates are working properly. So I do think we've addressed some of those gate arm issues. It's equipment, and in my experience, you're always going to have issues here and there with equipment, and always at the worst time. It's just part of it. And I've worked with several different manufacturers, and they all pretty much, the same thing happens with all of them. I think the key is making sure that we have at least one person that hangs around the equipment that can catch it right away, and that's what we started doing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was at an event recently in Lansing, and it was on campus, and they had 2 lanes in to park in the garage, and they had 2 people for each lane, and you just prepaid, and it went very quickly. But it was because of that gate arm issue, I'm sure. So they had the arms, they were just up. And I think the Travis Tritt concert is going to be a really good learning experience, a benchmark for the new contract moving forward. So I think we're interested to see how that goes, especially relative to future events at the hotel.
Yeah, and there's going to be backup. You can only get them in the ramp safely so fast, and safely for the people, the employees standing there. So you're always going to see some type of a backup, but we do have several people we have 2 credit card machines now. We got an extra handheld about 3-4 months ago, and then cash, and so we are working on getting them in faster, but especially Travis Tritt. I mean, there's going to be a line. There's just no getting around that. Everybody's coming at once,
Yeah, are you prepaying? Are they doing any prepaid?
We're going to collect at the entrance.
No, like when people buy their tickets, they
Right.
pay for parking ahead of time?
Not currently, but that
Okay.
is something we want to work on going forward. The equipment we have right now in the software, we're not set up to do that. It can be upgraded to do that, but at a cost. So that's something we'll have to talk about going forward. If they're going to continue to have larger events like that and more of them, that is something we definitely want to look into. And that was discussed, I believe, in our discussion, in our interview.
Yeah, the prepay would be a huge help, I know, with,
Yeah.
not just the concerts, but some of the other events, off the top of my head, the robotics one, I know Tom's.
Yeah, and it would help us tremendously, too.
Linda, and I'm on the CBB, but it's been a while since we've had any of these issues, and it wasn't on the top of my head when I was talking about my parking lot, but and I recall some of the negotiations that you've had with some of the groups for reduced rates. What typically are people looking for when they're asking for reduced rates for the groups, and what size groups are we usually extending that to? or trying to utilize that technique to make sure that we've got them?
It depends on the group. Some things like MHSA have a set rate that they don't want to go above for their guests. So then the CVB, if we negotiate with AMCO, then we end up paying the difference. The Jehovah Witness group that's coming next year, right, Ben?
I believe it would be correct, 23, the summer of 23.
Yeah, they wanted to buy out the garage. And again, we had to negotiate a specific rate for that the CVB will pay. Some groups need, spaces for their workers so they want prepaid passes. Our system can't accommodate that. The CVB has to buy them and give them to the organization. And that's a big one. I mean, we do that a fair amount. We pre-buy passes for groups.
What's our latitude for being able to do that? From the board's perspective, what's the latitude that we can do to set something up with Leslie and work through these things well before we do that and figure out how the easiest way so we can do that? Is that possible?
Well, I'm not sure how these previous negotiations happened, but the city commission sets all the fees, bonds, and insurance schedules for everything that we collect. If it's not in that document, we couldn't collect it. So I'm not sure how these have been done in the past, but if we're changing established rates for parking, they need to go before the city commission for approval.
So Carl, to clarify, if they offer a discount and the Convention and Visitor Bureau makes up the difference, that doesn't have to be renegotiated?
No,
Because they're,
so that's
Right.
they're
typically-
making a
Right.
whole, yeah.
We're doing some of that.
So, and I will say when I think one of the proposals actually showed our parking rates considered, or compared to others. And we have some of the lowest parking system rates. We also have a system that is in dire need of some improvements, and that revenue from events is important. So we need to be cautious about not collecting as much revenue as we can from some of these events that use the parking system and put a strain on it, so.
I just want to point out that I think Linda is raising a valid concern about the inefficiencies that we had with the parking company prior to your arrival. But if there's anything we can put in the contract, perhaps to do an annual evaluation, I think that will help Linda better understand some of the frustrations that she receives and some of the payouts that she has to absorb in her budget due to the fact that the parking company isn't willing to work with some of the people that come to Battle Creek. So that'll give us a recourse, I feel, to really work with them to better understand some of our needs.
Yeah, and I also wonder if, again, not being in the process, but is a five-year contract the way we want to go at this point, knowing that the hotel will be open soon? And, we, as an organization, did have a lot of significant issues prior to the pandemic.
Yes, our recommendation is 5 years.
Okay.
So we do have a motion on the floor. Any other conversation or discussion? Okay, I think we're going to have Leslie abstain from this vote. I'm not sure exactly procedurally what we have to do there, but she's going to abstain. Not for obvious reasons. So all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign.
Yeah, no.
Motion carries. So the next item on the agenda is the advisory committee appointments. So our terms expire today, or all of our terms expire today. So if you wish to continue to serve on this committee, we will need an application. Those applications will be considered by a review committee and then forwarded to the city commission for approval. So I would encourage you all to submit an application. I will take them today. We have copies of them floating around here if you need one, and we'll get you reappointed. And the meeting frequency, I guess, is something we can discuss. Through COVID, we kind of did it as needed. I'm not sure if we want to continue that approach or if we want to change to a more regulated frequency, but I'm open for some opinions on that.
I would prefer to see us meet as you feel it's necessary.
Okay.
I agree. I'm not into meeting just for the sake of meeting. And you don't bring good donuts.
We don't bring any donuts.
I think before we had the pandemic and we quit meeting, I think we were meeting about quarterly. And that seemed to be reasonably good. It gave us a chance to look at issues without them getting too strung out. And yet at the same time, everybody's got more meetings than they need. So, but quarterly, I mean, my suggestion is we start quarterly, and then if that doesn't work, we can always add or decrease the frequency. But I think it, and because I appreciate we had police officers present, and they could talk about some of the other issues that were going on with the parking, such as the homeless and the panhandling, and some of the other stuff that we want to keep aware of. So it serves for not only the parking issues, but other downtown issues that I think all of us have some concerns about. So my sense is quarterly.
Well, certainly if there's an issue that we need to meet on, I would encourage you to contact me and I can convene a meeting earlier than that then too. But I will get a meeting on the calendar for quarterly. I'll make sure that your email is addressed. I'm not sure why that continues to happen, but we'll go that route for now and see if it's too much of a burden. Do we want to have, do you want to speak real quick about what you're seeing in the parking system, and then we can ask some questions?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, same issues that started when I was, 6 months ago when I started downtown, a lot of homeless issues down there, panhandling. So we got the new camera system. I don't know if everybody's been updated on the cameras. They're not fully working. We're still waiting on back-ordered parts, like everything right now. But they are up. Some of them are up and running. So Michigan Ave parking ramp, Kellogg parking ramp is up and running, so I can review that. And we have been able to use that already. Just last week, I was able to review that, see what kind of personally go through the backlog of videos, see what I was looking at and flex hours and do some targeted enforcement, which has been good. Apparently this weekend there was an effect, so hopefully that'll keep on an upward trend and we'll see some of that.
What's the schedule on the State Street? Are there going to be cameras in the State Street lot?
That I don't know for schedule. I know everything, all I've been told so far is it's on back order and we're just waiting.
I see.
It's kind of one of those shipping things that I know, so we're starting to hit good weather. People are going to I'm going to really be on the bike a lot this summer. Kind of excited, I already started that. I know Riverwalk, I know State Street by the river on both sides behind Clara's, and right there at Friendship Park is going to be one of my main target areas. Just because I seen what little bit in the fall that was an issue, so that'll hopefully, with my presence out there, quite a bit will help.
Questions for us, sir? Okay.
I would like to say thank you for being downtown and all you do for the businesses down there. My staff certainly appreciates you just being a phone call away, and also your flexibility from an hours standpoint to help us when there are events going on and we need some extra help. So we really, really appreciate you. Thank you for being there.
Oh, thank you for the support, everyone.
Agreed.
Thank you. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, the next item is public comment. Do we have any public comment? All right, we don't have any board comments. We can start down there with Ben. Ben, do you have any comments, board comments?
No, not right now.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Anything, Joel? Okay.
Been checked all the way down.
Oh, we did? Did you, John, you got anything? We're good.
No, no.
Leslie?
I would just say that demolition on the plaza at the hotel will start soon, later this month. So you'll start to see some impacts around town. But you're going to start to see a lot of progress on that in the coming months. So first the plaza, and then new windows will come in, new windows will get installed, and then there'll be staining, so you'll see some exterior work. But that's going to really start to accelerate here, so, and that will impact parking.
I'll say the video that was put out this past week was very nice. You guys
Yeah,
did
I was going to ask.
Great
if
job with the
Got a chance to see it.
presentation of the whole thing there. We shared that on our website, and that was, or our Facebook page, but that was really nice.
Right.
Nice touch. It's good visual of what's going to happen and how that's going to look.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't seen it, it's on our BC Unlimited website and Facebook, and I think LinkedIn as well, Twitter. So there's a nice video about the hotel. It's a conceptual, but it gives you a good sense of what it's going to look like in about 18 months, so. check it out.
WBTK's got that attached to that too, so on their website.
All right, with that, we will be adjourned at 9:04.